just mentioned, over 17,000 megawatts of our grid is currently offline due to breakdowns. You've got to add to that more than 5,000 megawatts out due to planned maintenance. That takes us up to 22,000 unavailable. And we know, of course, that over half of our grid capacity is simply not available. Stage 6 rolling power cuts in place until tomorrow, and then we're going to move to that 5-6 pattern. So let's speak to energy analyst Ruse Moleshe to try and give us a real picture of what is going on here. Ruse, always so fantastic to talk to you. I mean, without a doubt, even if we don't do the maths, which you're going to help me with now, the picture is exceptionally worrying. You were explaining to me when we just before we went on air that the total grid capacity is around 51,000 megawatts. But as we know, our grid is operating, I think, at just over 50%. So that leaves us with what, about 27,000 megawatts. And we are seeing, we're seeing why we don't have nearly half our grid, because of these breakdowns that just seem to be getting worse. Just talk me through the maths a little bit. When you look at these figures, what pattern emerges for you?
So when we look at the figures are telling us that over half of our Eskom fleet is not available for us to use, and for different reasons. One is due to planned maintenance, and then the rest is due to planned maintenance, and then the rest is due to unplanned maintenance. About 5,000 of that is unplanned.
Yeah, so I mean, my understanding is that it's 17,000 that is due to the breakdowns. That's unexpected, is that right?
Correct. And then on top of that, we have about 5,000 of that is under planned maintenance.
So that's where we get to, you know, around half. Is it getting worse? I mean, are we, you know, we've been fluctuating between sort of stages 5 and 6 for a few weeks now. We're not even in winter, and we keep getting warned winter's going to be awful. The electricity minister saying a few weeks ago that even in summer we're about 6,000 megawatts short. What for you is winter going to look like?
Winter is definitely going to be affected, especially if we continue to have the unplanned maintenance being so high. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Some students passing by here. Yeah, being so high. So what is going to happen is that we're going to have an increase in demand, definitely in winter, and that will exceed what we currently see as demand. It will be around between 35 and 37,000 megawatts. So that means that the shortage will be even more. Hopefully, generally, there's no maintenance during winter, so hopefully that also cushions us. We do the maintenance in summer. But unplanned maintenance means that is a breakdown that you don't plan for, so that we cannot guarantee we'll have in the system. It could increase, it could be lower. We don't know, because we can't predict really what happens in that regard.
Do you think that the South African public is being slightly duped, and that actually we've probably gone far into stages 6 and 7 already without necessarily being told that?
Yes, yes and no. Technically, load shedding is what normally Eskom is the definition issue. Normally, Eskom will refer to load shedding as when they cut you off the system. But technically speaking, we have gone beyond. We've gone up to stage 8 without being told, because they have contracts where they can ask some of the energy-intensive users to reduce their use. And they've asked them to reduce by 5,000 megawatts, and that was not included in the figure for total load shedding. So in a way, it's a smart accounting.
Yeah, I mean, we know about load reduction in areas that aren't paying, load curtailment. As you say, it's the big businesses asked to please shut down their machines, and then load shedding for the average Joes like me. I want to ask you a little bit more about some of the messages coming up, particularly this last weekend, but also from the electricity minister after he visited a number of the power stations. He seems to be saying, look, we might just need to refurbish these really old power stations and use the coal that we've got. A lot of people are saying that's such a bad idea because it's going to be super expensive, because these power stations are very expensive to fix because they're so old. But also it's going to signal a very uncertain message on our just energy transition. What is your view?
Well, the thing is that we are so reliant on Eskom that has 80% of their capacity coming from coal. We cannot wish away that problem because we have a centralized system where we all get our power from. Talking about decentralization is still theory at this stage because that's where we are. So that's probably where the minister is coming from to say what we need to do. However, from a government perspective, we don't have a coherent policy. National Treasury said they're not giving Eskom any more funding. And the minister talked about extension of the coal-fired power plants. Now, the question is, where does that finance come from? Because we know that internationally now, even locally, we have difficulty getting finance that is not climate finance. So that is a question that when the minister says what he says, need to think about, is there a coherent message that comes from government? Also, he mentioned that in terms of the coal-fired power fleet, there may have been a neglect in terms of investments by Eskom because of their balance sheet issues. That is a solution he's proposing, which is not a bad thing in my view. However, it's not a complete story when you cannot tell where the finance will be coming from. He alluded to potentially the private sector, but we don't know. So South Africa, really, anyone can say anything, for as long as you don't have an implementable solution on the table, it does not have a meaning.
Yeah, you make an excellent point. I know that you work in energy finance. This is your area of expertise. What for you makes the best money sense? I mean, we know there's all sorts of other factors, the environment, of course, but what for you makes the best business case sense, bearing in mind that Eskom is also mired in debt and our country is in a really tight squeeze?
Look, we need a balanced view, but we do have external constraints when it comes to us extending, our coal-fired power fleet. But that is why we need to, government needs to think thoroughly about what is the solution with regards to that. At the same time, we also have, when we go the renewable energy route, we do have technical constraints with respect to the intermittency of the technology, and therefore you have to back it up right now with diesel, and diesel is not a sustainable way. So there's difficulties in both sides. Renewable energy technologies, of course, have a benefit that is environmental. But the question is then security of supply cannot be guaranteed at this point. We're going only with renewable energy. So you need a mix of technologies that can assist, particularly flexible generation, which is where gas would come in. But then again, in terms of where we are as South Africa with respect to gas, we are not ready for that to be a solution for right now. So South Africa has a lot of potential solutions, but they are not short-term.
Yeah, we're in a bit of a corner, aren't we? A dark corner. Thank you so much for your time. Always great to chat to you, energy analyst Ruse Moleshe.